Early morning rush. Love it.
That makes one of us.
Well, I've had to learn to love it. I have to say that.
No, that's not too bad. I mean, this is not that early.
Okay, it says 88 is the fastest route. I don't trust it. Check. You need a cushion or anything? Alrighty.
Thank you.
Minutes to spare. Look at that. That is our family record. We've always had to have the destination time an hour beforehand just to make it on time.
Believe you me, I get that.
Yeah, especially with the kiddos.
Especially with the kiddos.
You're just now eating cereal? Come on.
That reminds me, I don't know if you remember, they used to, and they may still, I haven't looked in forever, tiny cereal boxes.
Yes.
And Dad would have a little knife. He would,
in a quarter mile, turn right onto South Center Road.
Nice. He would cut them open because they had a foil lining. So it'd be little mini cereal boxes. And he had a little powdered milk, put that in there, a little water, have cereal on the road. Usually stop somewhere because he didn't want to mess up the car. But he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Get us in the car on the road, then eat.
Take the next right onto South Center Road.
Especially, see, I think the hard part would be to get the kids uncomplainingly eating powdered milk.
It's
back in the day, I'm sure it was a little bit easier convincement.
It's pretty poor by itself. It's putrid.
Yeah.
With sugary cereal, it's acceptable.
And given the context, you're
Right.
on the road,
You're
you're
on
in
the
the
road.
car, Dad is looking at you.
Right.
Because I had my uncle, he was in the military, he'd always bring over those dry foods or all of that compact stuff. Never eat it once. I could just never do it. I think the crackers are the only thing that I could eat.
Yep. My uncle was in the military, and he brought some pretty putrid.
In half a mile, turn left onto Illinois 38 East.
But we got exciting news yesterday that we have a workshop in September in the Florida Keys.
What?
Yeah, so we have 2 of them in there now. So reached out to one library, and then they reached out to other libraries in their library system. And so at the moment we have 2, but they have 5 libraries in their
Take the
whole
next
system.
left
So
onto Illinois 38.
fingers crossed that we do all 5. But either way, 2 of them solidifies the trip at least. So we'll be driving out on that ocean road or whatever they call it. We were trying to, you call it a bridge, a road, a bypass, or what are we calling this thing?
Continue on Illinois 38 east for 2 miles.
So is that your threshold? If it's 1, you wouldn't go, but if it's 2?
No, if it was 1, I would have went. But we're also at a point now where we're getting so many for summer, so I've been able to elevate the prices, and particularly for further ones, because I don't like to charge a travel rate, because it kind of gets sticky when it comes to like how much you're charging a mile. It becomes this math equation, which eventually we'll probably have to consider into the pricing, but I don't like that. I like to have a flat rate for the library. So they took the 2-hour one, and the 2-hour one obviously being more investment. So that at least allowed us to automatically go no matter what. And then another library, it's like a paint your own recycled drum workshop. So that's going to be the other one, and we're going to have to bring down a bunch of old oatmeal cans and paint them up into a drum and have a little drum circle. But
cool.
Given the context, maybe some palm trees outside, some seal sounds. So far that'll be one corner of the country. Now we gotta hit the other 3. Which my next big kind of like project here in a couple months is going to be trying to get Hawaii. And I got all of the list of all of the emails, but they kind of operate on a much more of a system base, so kind of like one person's in charge. So I'm gonna do like a mail out, and I'm gonna mail the libraries, kind of write them a handwritten note and tell them what we do, and hopefully try to bring it out to the islands that way. Especially after being able
Continue straight onto First Avenue.
to kind of leverage, hey, we're in the Florida Keys as well, so we're willing to travel, and they were willing to have us there. So
Continue for 1.5 miles.
If I understand, you don't have a travel fee? Was that what I heard?
Continue on Lincoln
Yeah, we
Avenue
don't-
for half a mile.
I'll say that I definitely, for ones that are the furthest out there, I may raise the price a little
Okay.
bit, like $50 maybe, but I never add the travel fee, just not as of yet. I've tried it before, and it's just like a very, you gotta pay for the miles, and then you want to take this into consideration, and it quickly comes up to adding like $300 to a library, and you're like, all right, how am I supposed to ask you $300 for a travel fee when that's almost as much as the workshop itself?
Right.
So it's hard to get into that, but as we do bigger and bigger gigs, because now I'm getting invited to school. Because the other good news, if I didn't have Florida Keys, is that we've been invited to
Take the
schools
second
now.
left onto 8th
So
Street.
we're going to
Then
Lake
turn right
Zurich,
onto
we're
Fourth
going to
Avenue.
Hinsdale, and we're doing a lot more schools, which is a lot more time investment, more workshops at one time,
Take the next right onto 4th Avenue.
and then multiple days. So in Hinsdale or in Lake Zurich, I'll be there for 2 days doing workshops, like I did in North Dakota.
Continue for 1.5 miles.
I was just thinking with Hawaii, that's probably, I'm guessing you can't drive there.
You can.
And boat's an option, but you're most likely going to fly, so it's going to be a significant cost over anything else you've ever done.
And the main thing with a Hawaii trip would be to pay for the trip.
Right.
And that would be a giant win in of itself, because even if whatever I did manage to bring back, say it was multiple workshops, and you're able to bring back, you got to pay taxes on that, which is going to cut it automatically very big. But if you're depending on what you spend in Hawaii, you know, you can write all of the expenses off. So main goals for those ones are just to like pay for a nice little trip out to Hawaii or Alaska.
You thinking about Alaska too?
Yeah, for sure. I just see it being a little less motivating for me to email them immediately, but I definitely would love that opportunity, especially to take a trip through Canada. So if I was able to tack on some Canadian libraries along the way, that would be awesome as well. I have a lot of their libraries, but I just haven't reached out yet, just because that in of itself could be it's a whole nother project of figuring out international taxes and all of that. But I mean, even in that reaching dreams, I got all the emails from New Zealand, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Australia. So we're definitely open for the more exotic tours. It's just kind of getting ourselves prepared for it. Like right now, even if that's why I haven't really emailed anybody or tried, because even if they say yes, it's kind of like, well, we have some time this year, next year open. Are you willing to look for next March?
Use the left 2 lanes to turn left onto the I-88 East ramp. In a quarter mile, merge onto I-88 East.
My brother-in-law, my sister's husband, was in the military, and he served out in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
And we went out there once, years and years ago, before kids, and it is pretty amazing.
Nice.
But it's a long flight, so if you can get New Zealand on board,
Yeah.
you're halfway there. It's
Might
a
as
long
well-
flight.
Yeah, since they're already going.
And he also served in Okinawa. We did not go out there, but my parents did fly out there to visit. That's when
Continue on I-88 East for 63 miles.
their youngest grandson had been born, little Tyke, and that was a long flight. That's probably 16, 17 hours.
Dang, so it was why like 12 then, or?
Hawaii is only 8 or 9.
Okay.
But yeah, they would not recommend that. So New Zealand, I'm sure, is a hike.
I can only imagine anything like on that side, like, cause to keep stretching the dream, one of our biggest ones would be Japan, because they have a very high comic book, anime, manga culture, and obviously very influenced by any sort of American aspect. So they would be a big win, and I think that they would be very, very much on board. However, again, most of the same problems. It's like understanding that before trying to take on such a huge project.
Do you ever look at have you ever heard of any type of like arts exchange or anything like that?
No, I haven't, but that would be very interesting.
I don't even know if that exists. I'm just wondering.
The thing with those is they tend to be one a lot around education, so it'd be like college or students of some nature or nonprofits, and they're just they have a lot of stipulations for such things, but they do have a lot of residencies, which would be something that would be awesome. And because that's kind of what I did in North Dakota, technically, was an artist in residency. So that would be very cool, and they have those everywhere throughout the world.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Look, yesterday it was surprisingly cold. And I looked at the forecast, it said 44, so it's like, all right, I can do this. I can dress in layers. I got my coat. I'm ready. I'm ready physically. Mentally, I'm not ready for the cold again.
Yeah.
William's got soccer right now.
Oh, okay.
2 weeks ago, that was the coldest
Yeah,
game
I
ever.
bet.
Oh, it's horrible. Last week wasn't so bad.
Well, that was probably like right on the cusp of when it's going to start being the. But right now, because of this kind of back and forth weather, my family is big into mushroom hunting.
Oh.
And they're at morels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the weather's been real perfect for that. And my aunt, she found a bunch of them out by where we always go, and out at my house actually, she found like 3 of them.
That's cool. I didn't know they were this far north.
Oh yeah, this is a hot spot right here, Iowa, Indiana. This is like this is Mushroom Haven, and then obviously a little bit even further south.
Yeah.
It's when it gets crazy. I mean, that's like it's just a whole culture.
I know a little bit, and I know that Ottawa
Okay.
has like a festival maybe, and I was interested in that. But I thought like that was where it was primary.
Oh no, they are everywhere.
Oh. That's cool.
If anything, the only reason why they're more known for down south, particularly in that area, is simply just because there's less civilization areas. There's just more country, rural spots.
Okay.
But if you go anywhere, say even in Rochelle, anywhere that has a group of trees,
Yeah.
you'd probably find a morale if you were looking hard enough.
Okay.
But to be fair, it's hard. Like, it's not easy work. I've done it a couple, and that's why I got hooked on it. I've done it a couple times, and it's like playing, a real I Spy game. Because you're definitely looking, and there is no guarantee you'll find anything. But when you do find something, it's exhilarating, and they taste amazing. You butter it up, put it on steak. There's hardly anything better.
Nice. Yeah, I'm interested in the hunting aspect. I don't know if I'd be brave enough to eat it. I mean,
Morale? Do you eat mushrooms at all?
I eat mushrooms. I just anything I found in the wild.
Well, obviously you cut it up, you brine it, and then the morels, because there's different versions of the poisonous ones, but the poisonous ones are so obviously poison, you would have to be dumb to eat it almost. You'd be like, what's this red thing? I don't know. But the morels, they're so earthy, but it is the best mushroom by far. I do not know how any mushroom could taste better. But yeah, any portobello, doesn't even come close.
If I went with somebody who was trained, or if I went somewhere where I knew they were picking them on purpose, I would definitely eat it, but
Yeah.
I just wouldn't trust myself. I mean, I'd find it, but
This is that season right now, and any sort of, when it gets like the back and forth, because it would be like rain and then 80 degrees the next day, humid. The same reason why it's hard to mow a lawn right now, where it seems like it's always work.
that's interesting.
But I'm going to try to do some camping next week, because with the summer coming up and doing workshops and spread out, I plan on doing a lot of camping, because I'll just be there for a night. And I love camping, but I don't want it to be my first time when I have to go to a workshop, and it's like the first time I'm going camping for the year, and the anxieties of starting a fire, or how am I going to make my coffee in the morning, all of that. So I want to do a dry run. So I'm going to try, I think, next week and do some mushroom hunting.
Nice.
My aunt just went camping. She's Tammy, who's with Chat, and she went to Sabula. You ever heard of Sabula? It's just over in Iowa. And she keeps raving on it about how it's basically like a slice of Eden.
Just a beautiful area?
What was that?
Just a beautiful area?
Yeah, like that, and it's like the campground area.
Okay.
She said she had like going. It's kind of by a bridge. It's right on the Mississippi River. But it's just a campground that they have. And she's been, and now that I've been hanging out with her last day, she's been raving about it.
you say Chet did his first comic book workshop, 2-hour comic book workshop. What did he do in Rochelle? Oh, just solo?
Yeah, but solo.
Okay.
And the one in Rochelle was a single hour.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yes,
there's
it
a
was.
huge difference when you're
Yeah.
the performer. You feel the 2 hour is like a marathon, and the 1 hour, even though it just is 1 hour, it's a sprint in comparison. It just is. But also, it's in Rochelle, and it was like a safe place. So when you're going out to a different place, you gotta introduce yourself, meet the person, set up. So just kind of like that whole rhythm of on the road, doing a 2-hour workshop. But since now that he did that, now he'll be able to bounce around and he'll take off to other places, whether it be the Florida Keys or Alaska or whatever have you.
And that's important because
He can
you've
kinda-
got a lot booked this summer, so he's going to have to.
Yeah, I for the most part, I was kind of keeping him in nearby ones that we've already done.
Mhm.
And so it's familiar, and just till he kind of just built up the routine and the rhythm, and now that he's kind of, and obviously every once in a while kind of breaking the comfort zone and familiarity, but now that he's more comfortable in this, now we can kind of stretch out into Ohio, or while I'm away he can also be away. It just allows a double aspect of it. Or a lot of the times, like you came to the Barrington Park District one, and in the fall a lot of those programs restart back up, so instead of me kind of going to it allows me to free up, and I can go out to Florida or West Virginia pretty soon and stuff like that. So I can go out and do that while he runs some of the programs here, and then eventually we'll be both branch out in longer and longer tours. We're trying to do Texas again in October, so we're trying to plan ahead of time and raise awareness. So we'll see how that one goes. But definitely getting the Florida Keys one elevates the confidence a little bit. Trying to reach out a little further on the next ones. And then, I mean, even this right here, though, the showcase, kind of see the libraries that are getting interested after seeing the performance, and that usually is a whole flood of scheduling, fingers crossed.
So tell me about today.
So it's the Illinois Performers Showcase, and I'm not sure how the setup is going to be, so I'm more ambivalent and nervous about that. However, it's like I have a presentation in all of the libraries, or at least most of the Chicagoland libraries, I presume, are going to be there to watch. I think it's 16 performers, so 16 different performers. And all the performers get only 10 minutes, which is very important. They stress that. So we have 10 minutes to kind of show what we do, and then that way all the libraries who tune in, who are present, they can kind of see and choose which ones are most fitting to their programming, and then they can kind of schedule us. So it allows them to kind of be in all one area, allows all the performers to be in one area and kind of mingle. But we did this in Iowa, and it was not at a convention center. It was at a library, so it already felt at least more contained. But in Iowa, and it brought all of basically our whole summer programming was due to the Iowa Performers Showcase. So similar hopes with this one, that it fills up our fall, or fills up the winter, spring, or also just gives us more a formal introduction to a lot of these Chicagoland libraries, which we've definitely reached out to a lot of them. But I've been recently making like a customers list, and the more glaring thing was that despite how many Illinois libraries we've done a very few in comparison to the amount that there is. So I'm very excited about this in the sense that it allows us to maybe raise that percentage of the more Illinois libraries, save a little bit on gas. But at the last one in Iowa, we had like 18 minutes, I want to say, but they had like a giant stopwatch, 15 feet large, a giant stopwatch projected right across from the performer's stage. So you're just sitting there staring at the time as it is trickling down. And then when it came to the 0, they yell out, "Time!" right in the middle of the presentation. So the timing is key. And I'm trying, that's going to be the more difficult part, is the containment within 10 minutes, because trying to contain a 2-hour workshop in 10 minutes or even explain it is going to be very difficult to show. So unicycling, juggling, changing hats, drawing, making jokes, and explaining who Duart is with the Duart chant, that's all, those are the talking points for the 10 minutes. So I have roughly about a minute and 15 seconds per one. So we'll see how it goes.
And have you been practicing this with like a 10-minute stopwatch?
I have not. I knew about a month ago that if I was going to practice, I had to start now. And I was fairly busy, and then my mind was all over it and this other thing. So I decided, I did it at the time. And as time kind of got on, I realized that I just don't have to, I wouldn't, if I didn't do it now, I wouldn't be able to memorize it. So I either had to like have an improv structure in my head, essentially. So I'm kind of have free-floating talking points. But I did that at the Iowa one too. I had a whole speech written out, and I should have practiced it more, but I had it all written out. I had practiced it many times, maybe not enough. But when I got on stage and I saw the people and I saw the giant 15-foot clock, like I froze, and I just improv'd it from then. So I figured if I was going to do all that work anyways and not use a speech, I might as well just not do it this time and try to improv it, but to practice the improv. So I've been kind of practicing that, and I'm hoping that works. So
And you did in Iowa, which was a little bit longer, but still you have some experience.
yeah, so I'm hoping, because it's always like the initial, like when you jump in the water, it's always like the initial shock of contact. So it's like as soon as I get on stage, I'll be able to decide if it's going to go well, I guess, or if I'm ready. Just because you immediately see everybody, and depending on how your breathing is, you can take a breath and you can control yourself. If I can do that, I think I'll be able to talk all right anyways, whether I memorize it or not. It's just, it's so easy to get on stage to get comfortable, and then you want to be funny, you want to be entertaining, engaging, so you're trying to do all this. But if you're one of those for too long, the time eats up. Like if I'm being joking, comedic, 2 minutes will go by so fast, and then maybe I overlook what I should have explained. So it's trying to juggle and balance those. But it's really just going to come down to, can I control my breathing when I'm up there? And when I'm up there, do I take a breath and just locate it? Because now, especially since I've done so many of the workshops, it's like in tuned in my brain, the structure of the workshop. I just got to fast forward and try to do it like that. So that's what we're going to aim for. But I'm also going to try to get some of the librarians to come up on stage and engage into the drawing aspects. And I think if I can do that, it'll at least show my ability to engage, my ability to interact, and kind of that interaction bridge of the workshop in general. And if I can get that to be shown through, I think it'll be all right. Unicycling, juggling, and that. And then if I can get everybody to say I am amazing, I think they'll get the gist. Because the main goal is just to get them to go on your webpage, because that will explain everything else. because at the last one, I got a table, so I was able to talk to librarians, give them cards and stuff like that. And this time, we are not going to be able to do that. So it's just kind of performance. You're done.
Do they have any type of meet and greet afterwards, or just?
It didn't seem like it.
Okay.
I did try to, because one of the last things I enjoyed about the last one was the ability to see the other performers. You get to see the magicians and circus folk and all of the different aspects. And I had asked if I could do that this time, and they said no, and it cost like $30 or $40 to watch the other participants.
Oh wow!
Which seems a lot because it's only a 10-minute. You're watching a magician for 10 minutes. It's not like the magician show. So I don't know if that also, if they were asking for all the other ones to pay, I'm sure that they're not either. And I can't imagine that they would hang around with their wares. So we'll see how it goes. We have stuff where I got business cards and flyers and all of that to hand out if it's the possibility, but it did seem like very formal oriented. You're here, action cut. All right, let's see ya. We'll let you know.
Is Chet helping with the trying to say performance, but it's presentation today?
He's a contingency plan.
Oh, okay.
So my main goal is to because I don't know how the stage layout is.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's an elevated stage, a podium, if there's no stage, and so forth and so forth. So if there's no easy access to the librarians, and they can't come on stage so easily, I think I'm going to call Chet up, and he'll do the drawing and kind of act like he's, a young participant.
Okay.
So but I also think I may call my mom and my aunt to come up because their infamiliarity with it will allow it to seem more natural, like a kid coming up for the first time. And I would have to, show my encouragement. I'd have to encourage them. Oh, don't worry, in front of all these people. And I think that would come off, show my personality a little bit more, whereas Chet would be almost too comfortable. And I'll be like, just let him draw. He knows what he's doing. So it will come off more as a performance instead of the engagement aspect. But it's just a contingency plan. Maybe I get there and I freeze up and I bring Chet on just because it'll allow me to feel more comfortable and understand that. So it's all going to go by ear. But mainly, we have they're very ambiguous about how much time you have before and after. All they say is that you have a few moments before and after to set up and break down. But they say that you have 10 minutes to perform, and then you have those additional few moments. So I don't know what that means. And it seems that from the performer's perspective, unprofessional at least, because I know at least my setup, but if I was a magician or if I was a circus person or anything of the nature or if I was a science person that was making like an experiment or using electricity, I would need to know how much time I had beforehand. But since I don't know, that's why I have everybody here, so we're gonna try to set up a banner, basically like a moving, I don't even know, a pit stop. So like a little pit stop, set up the banner, put up the rug, put up the whiteboard, do the performance, and then break it all down, hopefully within a few moments.
You think of NASCAR pit stop, I get you.
Yeah. Ideally, but having done this enough times, I know that someone's going to trip, the thing's going to fall over, we'll have to pick it back up, and then all of that, but it'll still go, hopefully with more hands, it'll still go smoother than by myself. And then even then, I might get there, see the stage, and realize I can't do the banner, and then have to call a contingency plan in on that one. So we'll see how it goes.
It's nice that your aunt and your mom and Chet, I mean, he's part of it formally, but it's nice that they could all come out and support you.
Yeah, and I'm always trying to find like the more convenient moments to get them to come out to kind of make it that, to give it that communal vibe. And Tammy, you were seeing some of the first ones. She was always coming to a lot of those first ones. In fact, we would not be able to do this without Tammy, because it was her car that I was driving when I was first doing these workshops and driving to Iowa and Wisconsin. She was lending me her car to do it all, so without her, none of it would have been possible. So it's cool to kind of see her back and coming to another event. And then my mom is about to go on a crazy cross-country road trip, so she's about to head to the California, the Redwoods, Utah. So I had to squeeze in one more event for her before taking off.
Is she a road tripper?
We'll find out. But we've always done like camping trips and stuff like this, but she's never gone that far. So this will be her first time seeing a lot of Utah, first time being in Utah, first time seeing the Redwoods, first time seeing Oregon. And her and my stepdad are going for 5 weeks.
Wow.
So, because me and Chet have done a couple road trips, and when we went, we were all, obviously, that's all you talk about when you do one. And when I went, I sent her a postcard from every place, so she's got like this giant collage of postcards from all over the country that I sent her. So I've always been pressing this adventurous side. And we had planned one for the whole family, but then the pandemic happened. It was the year the pandemic shut down everything. But that year we were all going to go out west and do this trip. Pretty much the same trip that she has scheduled now. But then the pandemic happened. I went to Mexico, and then I was there for 2 years. So now her and my stepdad are doing it for their 25th anniversary. So they had that planned out, and it's finally upon us.
I was going to say, I wondered if she inspired your road trips, but sounds like the camping inspired your road tripping, and now you've inspired her road trips.
Yeah, I have to. The camping has always been that part of our lifestyle as a family. Sorry about that.
Yeah, getting warm.
Yeah, it's getting hot. But my mom's voice was in me. In case something happened on the way and you had to be outside, what if you don't have a coat? But I was always inspired by the camping. And my dad, who has passed, he's a big road tripper, so he's more of the road trip blood inside me. And very strong, because he was always all over on his motorcycle. So that's kind of where that comes from. That influence for sure comes from him. But I also was huge into Jack Kerouac, and he wrote the book On the Road when he was backpacking across America. And I was very into Jack Kerouac in my early 20s. I've read everything Jack Kerouac has written. I've read it 3-4 times. So obsessively into Jack Kerouac, and that is where the road tripping came from. It was at least in my brain, from the participation side, it was no question the influence from him. Where I was like, man, I want to be a writer on the road and write poetry and go do some wacky things. And that inspired me and Chad to go do that, go see his grave and go across the country and try to take part in that. And when you do anything like that, it just kind of instills in you. Now, of course you're going to do it again, and of course you're going to be camping more, talking about it all the time. I'm talking about the Redwoods and the Colorado mountains. So of course my mom's like, man, I got to see that. And then now, since my mom also recently lost 80 pounds, 90 something now, because her goal before all of this is on her 25th anniversary, she wanted to fit back into her wedding dress. from 25 years ago. And not to say anything about my mom some months ago, but at the time it was not possible, and she knew that. But she, I don't know how long it's been now. It's been 10 months. Busted her butt, and she's lost 87 pounds, I think is exact. And she put on her wedding dress the other day. So anytime that you go through that transformation, you get a bunch more of that youthful energy. So now she's like, I want to go hiking, I want to go kayaking, I want to go take a Jeep trip through the mountain, you know, the ravines. And I think a lot of that is also motivated on a road trip. When you get that extra, you know, now you feel like you can go hiking. Now you feel like you can climb a mountain. Now you feel like you can ride a horse. And now that you have that access, it just makes her, now I feel like she's probably revisiting some of those missed youth opportunities. You know, like, I wish I would have done a road trip or whatever. And here they are. So that they're taking out. Going to do a lot of hiking is the goal, they say. So next big one is West Virginia. It's at the end of this month. Excited about that. Go see some new area. And then at the end of next month is Virginia. I go there for, it's like a 3-day guitar sing-along tour. And I go to 2 different libraries every day for 3 days.
And Chet is in Elgin area?
Yep. Elgin, technically it's Hampshire.
Okay.
For those who know. But it's a tiny town though, so it does allow us to kind of show that we're from small towns. But he is from the Elgin area, and
A lot of your reoccurring Park District programs are, it feels like he's closer to that, so in theory it would save you travel time. And that does free you up for road tripping.
And we're gonna after the summer, our finances will be, summer is where we get all of our business, quote unquote. But we'll be trying to find a location, like an apartment, and as all business rule, location. So we'll try to find somewhere conducive to our planned schedule, and obviously to pricing. You know? I'm not trying to live up in Elgin if it's going to be crazy price, and try to make that. But as we're doing a lot in Iowa, so right now Iowa is closer out here, so it's always hard to judge exactly, because Florida Keys isn't any closer to Elgin than it is to my house, no matter where it is. But so that's going to be, once we move, trying to find, then we can replan and reschedule. Because I do think I'll start fading away a little bit more from the park districts, depending on which ones have the more students and whatnot. Just because they take such huge chunks of your schedule. And you just never know if they're going to get sign-ups and stuff like that. But as we get more awareness, we can use those chunks in other libraries and schools. So we'll see how that progresses. But the idea is that he'll be doing a lot of what I did this year, going to a lot of those programs, building that routine up, and then he'll start branching out. I mean, the long-term goal is that he would be able to like hold down Illinois and the Midwest, and then I'll branch out to a whole different portion of the state for a little while. And daydreaming in my head. The one we always are talking about is Oregon. But recently I've been doing a lot of email collection. I call it email farming, I guess, in New Mexico. And they have a tremendous amount of potential libraries, schools, universities, hated New Mexico, so I'm not a big fan of Nevada. Hot. Greenery, it's got a desert, Crater Lake, the ocean. But we're still trying to pinpoint that next direction because we have a friend that lives in Austin, Texas, and Austin is a very artsy area. But then the next big goal is getting like a new car with the Duar Productions decal. So it's got my face on the hood, or at least Duar Productions by a drawn cartoon wacky face of me or something. And then the whole thing says DuarProductions.org everywhere. So that's the main goal right now, so we can kind of solidify these longer trips. Having a car, a newer car, getting the driving marketing commercial on it, and then kind of branching out from there and seeing where Duar can expand. It's our comic book workshop comic book. So that is one. I'm very confident that if we have this done, so many doors that we didn't even know were doors will open up, just because it's not only a calling card, it shows our artwork. It shows me in it doing the comic book workshop. It has a lot of this synergy as a marketing tool, as a sellable product, and as a learning kind of tool to the students, because I can also do my eye lesson, I can do all these different drawing exercises, but we're doing them in the comic book. So once we have that down, I think there's going to be a lot of book signings for libraries and avenues in that direction where we can promote ourselves through our product, actually, through our artwork. And that's going to be very cool. I've been working crazy on it, so. But it takes so long. No joke long. One still.
Is that average for your comic?
Yeah, I mean, they're growing. It's getting longer and longer the better I get at art. I've also been doing a tremendous amount of research on our upcoming comic. Probably in about a year and a half, we'll start it. It's called Leonardo card. It's like a Mario card mixed with all of the Renaissance pages, Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, and all of them racing, supporting and talking about their theories. But I've been doing a lot of research about Picasso and Matisse and all the French modern painters and Van Gogh, and you're doing research on it, kind of seeing their perspective on art, which is improving my art, improving how I see art, improving my drawing and my line work. So every time that happens, now the comic takes even longer because now I'm better at drawing. So it just makes the process longer, so unfortunately, but it's going to look more and more professional and more developed. And then that's just the drawing side, which takes a lot of time as well.
As we've learned, he loves color.
Yeah. Put it in each page like that we're able to do this with, because it's a comic book workshop and we are characters in it. They will double, like almost every page will double as a mental flyer or like a marketing image for a website or anything like that. So that's another reason why we had to take time, is just because it's going to be able to use in so many different avenues, different facets of the business. it all takes time and it all develops. But like when I first got the news, it was March 9th that we were invited. I was looking forward to that day. I had it scheduled in my calendar, all of this stuff circled, and then we got the good news, and I was so excited. I was very grateful and all of that good stuff. But then time goes on, and now I aim for something higher. So then I put this on the back burner, and it was like, well, because at the end of the day, no matter what happens at this, I'm still going to Florida Keys in the end of September. And that seems, in my head, the newness, the freshness, the grandeur of it just seems so much more time investment for me at the moment. So it's, when I got this announcement, I was super excited, and then a few weeks go by, and then my attention diverted, and I was like, yeah, well, it's the performer showcase, it's gonna be cool. Whereas at the time, I was like, oh man, everybody on deck, we need everybody, this is it, this is the moment, this is finally it. And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna probably open some doors. And it's always been that lesson learned in this whole entrepreneur thing, is like, you get your target on one thing, and that becomes the thing. And then like 2 weeks later, it loses a little bit of its luster. And obviously it's still very important, but there's always this next thing, this next step, this next plateau. Because another thing too is next week I have to turn this in. It's called an Eisner Grant. And Will Eisner, he's like the grandfather of graphic novels. So there's like 4 or 5 big names, or in the Mount Rushmore of comics, and Will Eisner is one of them. And he gives out this Eisner Award every year. It's like it's to the head honcho of comics. But he also, or not him, but his organization, they also give out this Eisner Grant every year. And this is to like libraries or to programmers and stuff like this. And this grant is for intergenerational development within the arts and communication. So when I read that, I was like, perfect, this is exactly what we need. So that became the new focus. So now I got letters of recommendation from somewhere in Indiana. I got one from Wisconsin. I got one from Illinois. I'm getting one from Texas. So I'm going to hopefully, all of these letters of recommendation explaining, I want to do a digital comic book program. So that's what I'm going to be kicking, is to start a digital comic book program with their funding. But just to use that as an example of one thing comes up and then the next thing comes up. So if we could get this, if we get the Eisner Grant, then everything else becomes a lot more minuscule in reality. However, it is a long shot. But I also see very few people being able to fit in the same category as we do when it comes to intergenerational artistic communication, and especially something with digital, because AI art is becoming such a conversation that this will at least allow to mitigate or try to be the mediator in between them.